Alright boys, welcome to BBR Week 6. Last week, unfortunately, we barely fell to the hands of Bope. If you missed that match, check that out in the top right hand corner. We moved on to 3-2, which is not ideal, but we still have a very good shot of playoffs. We have to win 1 more to likely make playoffs and 2 more to pretty much guarantee playoffs. As far as I'm aware, there's a lot of top end teams that are probably going to end up with 5 wins and a lot of bottom teams that are going to end up with a lot of losses. So we might not even guarantee it if we get 5 wins. It's a little murky, but we're going to try to just go ahead and win the next 3 games. This week, week 6, we play T-Row, who you can check out in the top right hand corner. And I'll be honest, I did not put as much time into this team as I should have. I could have all the excuses in the world, but I'm not going to. I just didn't put a lot of time into this team. And ultimately, if we lose, that's why. It's on me, 100%. But I will say we have a fantastic matchup. T-Row's team consists of Torn T, Kyurem, Slowking, Donphan, Ursa Luna, Bronzong, Sylveon, Skuntank, Mienshao, and Go-Go. We match up very, very well into this team. Tornadus, we have a lot of good counterplay too. We have Anti-Shocks, we have Weavile, even Skarmory or Scizor forces Heat Wave on that Pokemon and can take a hit and do a lot of damage back depending on our sets. Akka, Spadef, Skarmory. Kyurem, we have a lot of ways to outpace it, to do a lot of damage to it. Weavile Low Kick, Anti-Shocks outpaces it, and we have a fantastic check to that Pokemon in Scizor. And then the rest of his offensive threats aren't too scary. Ursaluna, we always have Skarmory for, and then Mienshao can be a little iffy. We do have Annihilate, so I don't necessarily know if it comes, but if he calls us not bring Annihilate, which is very possible based on this matchup, Mienshao could probably be the hardest Pokemon for us to deal with. I'm not going to go super in-depth as to what I think T-Row could bring because I'm honestly not sure. I think we really do have a check for pretty much everything. I don't think Trick Room or Saluna comes because we have Skarmory that walls it for pretty much forever. It can get a little bit dicey, but we always have Sturdy and Body Press into Weavile Ice Shard, so I don't really see that coming. Torn is not going to be Nasty Block because we have Weavile to revenge it, Scizor with Bullet Punch, Kyurem can't really be Dragon Dance, probably going to be Specs. Like, it's very hard to predict what T-Row is going to bring in this matchup because it's a very tough matchup for T-Row. In my opinion, the best way for him to win is going to be some very creative Mienshao set, maybe like Swords Dance Slackberry or something like that with Endura. Mienshao's probably, in my opinion, the best avenue for him to win, but if we bring Annihilate, then it's not good at all. So unfortunately, this portion of the team builder is going to be a little shallow because I just genuinely do not know what T-Row could bring. He's going to have to get very creative in this matchup, and I'm happy that we finally got a really good matchup after stressing so hard about the Bope matchup last week. So what we're bringing this week, the first Pokemon that we're bringing is going to be Latios. Latios has unfortunately not been as great for us as I wanted. It's been okay the first 2 weeks, and then now it's been kind of mid. So I decided it's going to be best for us to just bring Specs. It forces into Bronzong or the Sylveon, both of which we can flip turn and have adequate counterplay to in the back. And if he doesn't bring one of those 2 Pokemon or both, then we do have avenues to spam one of our stabs. Draco Meteor can be spammed if Sylveon's not brought. Psyshock can be spammed if Bronzong's not brought. Of course, Slowking also has to not be brought, but Slowking's a little tough for him to bring in general. And then we have last move Shadow Ball, hits Bronzong, hits Slowking. We have enough speed to outspeed the Mienshao. We have enough special defense to live 2 Hurricanes from a Tornadus, if I remember correctly. And then we went the remainder into special attack. It's not a very flashy set, but I don't think it needs to be a very flashy set. I think Specs does very well into T-Row. And once we can deal with or manage that Sylveon and or Bronzong and kind of corner them a little bit and make it to where there's only one viable switching into the Lati, we'll be able to click that move, whether it be Psyshock or Draco, very freely. And this mon can get a lot of damage up on the board. The next Pokemon that we're going to be bringing is going to be Anti-Shocks, and we're bringing Eject button because this is our Tornadus pivot, and Tornadus can U-turn against us pretty freely. It is a little bit annoying because, spoiler alert, we are not bringing Annihilate, so we can't even play the mind games to try to call the U-turn. And even if we did, obviously it'd be a tough switch in on a potential Hurricane. I digress. We're Eject button because Tornadus U-turn is extremely free, and if we're Eject button, we get the switch initiative into an offensive Pokemon to pressure this offensively, obviously. Anti-Shocks is our initial check to the Tornadus, so if he does attack us for whatever reason, or if something happens and we lose our eject button, it's not the end of the world, right? Like, this does actually still check Torn, but the eject button puts us into a better offensive position because something that we'll talk about in just a minute, I'll spoil it, the Weavile puts us in a much better offensive position than Anti-Shocks. Anti-Shocks is still cool, Stealth Rock's still good against our opponent, Metal Sound can be used. If we don't want to have to predict what's going to come in, whether it be the Bronzong or the Ursaluna, we can Metal Sound and then click the appropriate button the following turn, and then dual stabs do very good into our opponent. I didn't write down what the EVs do. I think we live 2 Icy Winds from a Tornadus Tyrion. Maybe if he's max special attack, we definitely outspeed the Kyurem, and then we went the rest into defense, or special attack, excuse me, if I had to wager a guess. I do think that 8 defenses for something, maybe a Mienshao triple Axel. I didn't write it down, my apologies. But Anti-Shocks is important because not only is it a good switch into the Tornadus, rocks are very good into our opponent whose only removal is going to be Donphan, but also dual stabs just do so good into our opponent. Metal Stun makes it much easier to have a good consistent click into T-Row. Next up, the Wincon. Snitch, Weavile. This Pokemon does so good into T-Row. This is like one of the best Weavile matchups I've ever seen. He only has a few ways to consistently have any counterplay to this Pokemon. It's going to be like Colbur on Slowking, Bronzong, it's going to be Quick Attack on Sylveon, and it's going to be Scarf on Mienshao. Past that, he doesn't really have any Pokemon that love taking on this Weavile. Obviously, any other Scarfers that I did not mention besides the Scarf Mienshao can do the trick, but Scarf Mienshao is probably the most likely Scarfer in my opinion, so that's why I brought it up. Just the combination of Ice plus Dark has virtually no resist in this matchup. The only decent resist is going to be Kyurem in the snow, which he could use a Fizz Def Kyurem to check our Weavile, I suppose. Low Kick doesn't do nearly enough. I mean, we don't even have Low Kick, but in the snow, Low Kick doesn't do as much as we would want it to, since we are going to be Boots, and I definitely valued Swords Dance and Ice Shard over having that Low Kick, since Triple Axel outside of the snow does so much damage to Kyurem. The whole point with the eject button Anti-Shocks is we get that eject button and we go right into Weavile and we force T-Row to make a decision. Does he go into Bronzong and potentially lose his Colbur with us knocking off? Does he potentially risk the Tornadus immediately? Does he make some other play like go Sylveon and we knock off its Rocky Helmet? I want him to make a decision very early because Weavile is so cool in this matchup because Weavile opens up the Weavile in-game, which is just fantastic. Like, just look at his team. I really do anticipate us doing very well with this specific Weavile set. Swords Dancing is going to be a little bit tougher. It's going to have to be on an offensive pivot. Like, it'll have to be on us going in on the Tornadus and forcing it out eventually so we get a Swords Dance up, or maybe we go in on the Slowking and we think that we can live a Fire Blast. Whatever the case may be, Swords Dance is going to be a little bit tougher as it always is with Weavile, but our 2 dual stabs do very well in this matchup in general. Next up, we're bringing our realistically only counterplay to Kyurem. It's going to be Scizor, and one of the best counterplays that you can have to Kyurem in the entire game, honestly. We're bringing a Resto Chesto Scizor this week because we don't have Roost. If we had Roost, this would just be a free Scizor matchup, but unfortunately, we have Rest, we have Chesto, so we have like a one-time thing. You turn for Momentum, Bullet Punch for priority, and have a way to hit that Kyurem, then knock off for a way to hit Bronzong, Slowking, and Punish switches. We're going to be virtually max Spadef. This allows us to live 2 Specs Earth Powers from that Kyurem, if I do recall correctly, or maybe it's a Draco into a Draco, something like that, and then we went the rest into Attack Adamant. Scizor, like I said, virtually our only counterplay to Kyurem, but that counterplay is just so good, man. There shouldn't realistically be a Kyurem set that should beat this Scizor as far as I'm aware. I would love to see a very creative way for him to take on this Scizor, but we'll see how that happens. Maybe it's like a Jetpack Draco. That could be a possibility if he even brings Kyurem, to be honest. But Scizor has a lot of usability outside of Kyurem anyway because of how valuable Bullet Punch is and how good of a pivot it is in this matchup. Next up, this is lame, but we are max Fizz Def Skarmory. This is just to take on that Ursaluna, and we have 0 speed with a negative speed nature because we want to underspeed that Donphan, so we cannot pressure us with Earthquake. We can't really do a lot of damage back. We can Body Press, we can Iron Head maybe, but we don't do a ton of damage, but us being able to roost slower than him does give us an avenue to potentially beat him eventually. Rocky Helmet to punish that Ursaluna, to punish that Donphan, and we have Spikes, because like I said, his removal is very weak, and Skarmory can come in on that removal for free. We didn't waste any EVs, we are max Fizz Def, because this is, like I said, our answer to Ursaluna, and that's very important, and Skarmory has to do a very good job of that. I am noticing now though that having 0 speed means that we underspeed the Ursaluna, and I don't like that, so I'm probably going to change that and regen it very quickly. But our Skarmory is going to be max Fizz Def for that Ursaluna. And then lastly, one of the kill leaders in the BBR, we got Big Man coming back. We're AV. It helps with Sylveon, it helps with Kyurem, it helps with Slowking. It was honestly between Big Man and Annihilate for this last slot. Overquill helped a lot with Sylveon, Slowking were two Pokemon that I felt like we really struggled with up to this point, and Annihilate helped with Mienshao, another Pokemon that I felt like we struggled with. I opted for Overquill because I feel like Sylveon and Slowking were a little bit harder for us to deal with. We have ways to deal with Mienshao. We can find out if he's Scarf, and if he's not Scarf, we have ways to outspeed and pressure him. So I feel a little bit more comfortable against the Mienshao than being able to break Sylveon and Slowking without Big Man. Where Gunk Shot, Barbarage, Crunch, Liquidation, Dual Stab does so well into our opponent. Barbarage to potentially fish for any cheeky poisons, Crunch for like the Slowking, and Liquidation for the Ursaluna. Again, no clue what these EVs are for. I assume we have enough speed for some speed creeps. I could not tell you. I forgot to write all of this down, man. So unfortunately, that's going to be it for the team builder. It's going to be a little bit shorter, like I said. Didn't have as much time into this team as I wish that I put into it, but that's okay. We have a good matchup, and hopefully we'll do well. As long as we play well, I think that we should be able to get a win out of this game. If you watch this team builder, go ahead and leave a like. Thank you so much for watching. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off. Bronzong, Sylveon, Skuntank, Miltank, Mienshao? Is that